Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are across this wonderful world of ours. My name is Fred A. Jones, but I'm going to put Dr. Fred A. Jones in there just because I've earned that right and privilege, which I'm grateful for. I'm here with the Ester Productions, and this is Decision 300. We are re-kicking it back up again at the appropriate time in 2021, which is turning out to be a heck of a year to start off with. But before I get in there, just a few house cleaning rules. I want to thank my man C.W. Whitaker at CFN Network for filming this and always being there with us, of course, with Dr. Ester Davis and her 30 years of leadership and guidance through this whole process. I also want to let you know that we are all in about 13 countries. We're getting about 100,000 hits a day watching us. We're on Roku, we're on Fire TV, Fire Stick, Internet, and on cell phones. Today, we have the distinguished privilege of being in Cedar Hill, Texas. Oh, another thing. 1186 black-owned water, bottled water from Alabama. We just need to let that know as well. But we are here at Kunoma Cigar Lounge in Cedar Hill, Texas, where the distinguished owner and proprietor, Mr. Tommy Black, has opened up his doors to allow us to have this unique conversation. We're going to get into some local issues. I also want to receive Mr. Trey Arnold, formerly the first Black Democratic Party Chair, committee man, and now working with State Senator Royce West. We want his insights as well because he's been out there in the trenches. So with that, let's not waste any more time. I want to get into it. Mr. Black, go ahead and give us your introduction. Tell us what's going on here at Kunoma and how you're doing, and Happy New Year to you both.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you as well, Dr. Jones, and the viewing audience, as well as Trey. Again, my name is Tommy Black. I'm the CEO of Kunoma LLC, owner of Kunoma Cigar Lounge here in Cedar Hill, Texas, and definitely glad to be here participating in this panel today with such a distinguished group of gentlemen sitting to my left and right.
Trey, your turn, my brother.
My name is Tremont Arnold. Trey. I'm a political consultant. I've been working in politics since 2006. I've done every gamut pretty much of political field. I've worked state rep races. I've worked on the last 4 presidential races. So I've been in the game for a while, and like I said, hopefully I can bring my expertise and make some change here in the Metroplex.
Now be aware, folks, this is unrehearsed, unscripted, you know how we do it. So what's going to happen here, you're going to hear our perspectives as black men with what's going on locally, and of course, we're going to dive deep into just what happened January 6, 2021, as FDR said, a date that will live in infamy. So with that, Mr. Black, tell us about how you got here, what's going on locally with the politics here in Cedar Hill. What are you doing at Kunoma to keep us engaged and involved?
I think, first and foremost, allowing a platform like this. I've always been a person that anytime someone presents an opportunity to me to echo a message that I feel has merit, I always welcome that opportunity here at Kunoma Cigar Lounge. And when you bring something to the table like this to discuss issues from local politics to what happened at our capital, I think that's definitely something that I would always welcome that discussion. Especially when you have such a vast audience to relay information to from the perspective of our community, your constituency, and hopefully, it could be information that could be a step towards affecting change. As far as myself personally, I have had interaction, with local government here in Cedar Hill, and I think the people that I have interacted with, from Mayor Pro Tem, who I've had fairly frequent communications with, I think there are some people that really are invested in seeing this community progress. I definitely would like to be a part of that progression, and I will continue to open these doors for someone who has a message, of merit and something to bring to the table to further that agenda.
And before we cut off and get to you, Tremont, just let me just remind you, just share really briefly for about 30 seconds or 45 seconds the interaction that you had when we were dealing with the closures of the cigar lounges because of COVID issues, and how you put together with Dr. Juan and Judge Clay Jenkins, and how you helped participate in that.
Absolutely. That was a very monumental meeting, and I would be remiss if I would say the meeting would have never happened had it not been for the gentleman to my left and the involvement of this gentleman to my right. And basically what we were able to do in the face of the COVID pandemic causing closures of local businesses, actually businesses around the country, but specifically here in Dallas County, it was quite alarming to me when I could see that restaurants were able to continue to operate at 100% capacity, and there's restaurants right here in this community here in Cedar Hill that I frequent quite often, and when I would go in and I could see what they were doing, the first thing that I wanted Judge Jenkins and Dr. Wong to be aware of is that I wasn't a part of the meeting to slam restaurants, because what I could see when I would go into restaurants that I frequent here in Cedar Hill is they were doing a great job of creating space and creating social distancing, but my position on that particular day was to make them aware as to all of the reasons why, the reasons that I could make a case that my cigar lounge is safer than any restaurant in Dallas County.
Yes.
Reasons being, creating space and social distance. I took furniture out of my lounge. I closed my lounge for 4 months when the shutdown order happened, March 23rd at midnight. March 23rd at midnight, I chose to close the lounge, and I kept the lounge closed for 4 months. Before I reopened, what I communicated to Judge Jenkins and Dr. Wong, I had a commercial company come in and do a COVID, what they call an enzyme treatment that kills COVID, Ebola, flu on contact for up to several months. And then daily here in my lounge, as customers depart their seats and leave for the evening, we do a re-treatment of the area where they enjoyed their cigar. And then the thing that I also wanted them to be aware of was, in the cigar industry, there's things that we build into the infrastructure of a cigar lounge that makes my cigar lounge safer than a restaurant. Number one, a restaurant doesn't have the primary level of air filtration that I have. A restaurant doesn't have charcoal filtration as a second level of air filtration like my cigar lounge has. And then thirdly, which I wanted to make this point because I knew Dr. Wong as an otolaryngologist, being in the ER, he understands the importance of air purification. The third level of air purification in my cigar lounge that a restaurant doesn't have because they don't prepare for it, because they don't need to, is HEPA filtration. And that's my third level of air purification and HEPA filtration. There's a reason why doctors tell families who have a child with allergies or asthma to put a HEPA filter in their bedroom, because it grabs particulates out of the air like COVID or dust mites or what have you. And with those three levels of air filtration in my cigar lounge, as well as practicing the same social distancing and stringent disinfecting techniques, I would hope that someone would walk away from that and look at it and say, wow, this is a valid argument as to maybe why we shouldn't be looking at, a cigar lounge in the same light as, because they basically lumped us in with strip clubs and bars.
Yes.
And, my position was to make sure that they understood there was a vast difference just not only from infrastructure but operation.
Yes, sir. Trey, tell us about what happened with the election, how you was able to play a part in that, and how black folk were able to, because I know you were in communication with the folks in Atlanta that we were talking.
Yes.
So how was that able to infiltrate here, and how did you feel about the overall process of the election? Was it rigged?
Well, if it was rigged, the thing is I mean, he won because it wasn't rigged. The thing is we worked during this past presidential election. We were able to get people more engaged. The voter registration project that I had, I got over 4,500 people registered to vote in the South Dallas area alone. So people were engaged. People were tired of what was going on in D.C. So people wanted to change. We were able to, of course, flip the Senate. So we have the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House. So we'll be able to actually get laws passed now, being that we have a Democratic president, and control of the House and the Senate. So now we're about to see some real change, and we can't expect to see the change overnight. It's going to be, this hole that we were dug in. 45, we're just going to have to dig ourselves out that hole. But I feel like that we're taking the right steps to see some change.
Which leads us up to our conversation points of January 6th, 2021. From our perspective, and let me just say this, as we get into this, let us be very, 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 very clear. There has been no one that has not stressed the distinction between how Black Lives Matter protests were handled and how these insurgents did their insurgency were possible inside contact and connection, because we are Black and we understand how communities work. We understand when an inside job is going on because we have been part of what we see in our neighborhood and our communities. So we automatically were smelling some rats. So, but what's going on? We know that this was just unprecedented, and I want to ask you guys this, and you should help me understand this. Why are folks still trying to compare what happened with the so-called riots, that they said the few mishaps that happened in the Black Lives Matter, with the total uprising that occurred at the Capitol? How is this even connected?
I would say this. And I may bring a perspective that may surprise you, because we haven't really talked about my background, but I spent 8 years of my life downrange in some of the most dangerous places in the world with the U.S. government, and I worked on a very high level, secret level U.S. CENTCOM project managed by CECOM. In Iraq and Afghanistan. Our project spanned from Iraq, Afghanistan, to the Balkans, to East Africa. Now, what I can tell you, working intel, surveillance, and recon for the government, is they can see those folks coming with those ladders and full battle rattle, as we call it, downrange in the war theater. They can see those folks coming from a mile away. I know because I'm familiar with the equipment that they would likely be utilizing at a place such as our Capitol building. And so when I watched that footage, the first thing that I thought was, this has to be green lighted from the top down. Because I can tell you that if a U.S. embassy in Kabul was attacked by insurgents, I can tell you what the response would be like. And it would be a swift and aggressive military response to ensure that the individuals, the Americans and U.S. allies in that U.S. embassy in said country, wherever it may be, Kabul, Afghanistan, Kuwait, what have you, there would be a very swift military response. And to hear some of the most venerable people in politics and political news speak to the fact that there was a slow response, militarily or police. Now, granted, the mayor in DC, I know that they have protocols as far as launching DC Metro Police, which, because the capital is its own entity with their own police force, so they have to wait until they have a request for assistance. Or Trey being a military guy, an arms, an operational needs request. So basically, you know, when I looked at that footage, I really felt strongly that those Capitol Police officers had a do not fire order. When I saw that Capitol Police officer turn and run with a large weapon on his hip, I said, that's not normal.
Right.
That is not normal behavior, and this man must be under orders to not fire, because why would he risk not getting home to his family that night and turn and run up those stairs if he didn't have orders from his superiors to not react violently or to not return aggression? That's my position.
Trey, you were in the military. What did you think? And I've talked to some brothers in the military, and I have done some lightweight security work with individuals that work with the Capitol Police, Scotland Yard, and have been trained with FBI. So I've had those meetings, and I know that when we're doing certain security, with Esther and I, when we're doing certain things, we brought in Al Sharpton and we brought in these people, we had to have meetings with the not only the CIA but Secret Service, because he was under threat, and what we had to do. So what do you think about this whole fiasco?
Well, I feel like they were invited. I feel like you know, it wasn't a takeover or anything like that. They was invited. They was invited home, and we know where their invitation came from.
Right.
So you know, moments before the situation even happened, you know, all he did was just get them riled up. And you know, like I said, my personal opinion, you know, I think that order came down to stand down. You know, and he's made it obviously clear, even in past debates, you know, that he has relationship with these good old boys and you know, these other groups, you know, that have these things in mind. So, you know, it came from up top, and like I said, and we see what happened, and we can't be surprised. It definitely, you know, just seems like, you know, this regime has just been, you know, something like I said, I've definitely never seen before in my life, you know, and then even talking to people that have lived and was alive with Nixon, you know, even Nixon wasn't this bad. So, you know, I was just, you know, I was hoping that, you know, we could go ahead and do an immediate impeachment. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, but like I said, we got a couple more days until he gets out of office.
So the other thing I wanted, since you both are former military, I know that these particular individuals, these groups, and there's a lot of these groups out there. If you go on into the dark web, if you go into certain sites, you can hear the chat of what they're doing, and this is very well planned. So we know that they had pipe bombs, they understood, they had Gatling hooks to breach walls, they had Teflon on, as you said, they were suited and booted and ready to go. And so how deeply involved is the military with this? And so that's something I really want to know. So before we get into that, Mr. Cameron, I got another guest that's coming in, and if we could just kind of go to a quick break here and bring him on board, and then we'll continue with our conversation. Welcome back. We're back here in Decision 300 with the Dr. Fred A. Jones Society. I like saying that. Anyway, forgive me. My wife's not here to correct me, but Esther is. So, but what we have another gentleman here, my brother Nico. Now, Nico, I met at another cigar lounge. He's from Boston, so we had some issues because I'm from Cleveland. So Boston and Cleveland and Arkansas and all these other Texans, we all got our little sports clashes. But anyway, being from Boston, and then he was describing to me about his international flavors and travels. And so I thought from his perspective, from going overseas as well as Tommy, what did you feel about what happened January 6th, last Wednesday?
Well, for me, first of all, I think it was a reality check. And I think it was a reality check because we got to see what America really looked like in the modern days. And it was sad for most folks, but it wasn't really a shocker for them. And it's always you rather deal with the devil that you know than the devil that you don't know. And we got to see the devil that we were naive about, that we didn't think existed. And I feel like and I feel like it was a reality check. And for most of us, we should understand, no matter what we do about it now, it's not going to change overnight. This is a culture. It's a tradition. It's a way of life for those folks that reacted that way. And that's just the reality. So we have to understand, no matter if we get on the street and we march and these folks get in jail and get 10-year sentencing and all that, it doesn't mean it's over. And I think part of that, we have to hold ourselves accountable on being consistent. I think we make a lot of noise when something happens. And a month from now, we don't make any noise. Or it's a sleeping giant. Once it's poked again, it'll wake up and it'll cause disaster. So I just think we should be a little more consistent. By nature, from traveling and to the motherland and things of that nature, we are not that aggressive when it comes to social justice and things of that nature. We are aggressive at the moment. We live in the moment, but consistently we're not that aggressive. So we're easily forgetting things.
We have sugar rushes.
Right, basically.
We have sugar rushes. So we need a car.
Right.
We need to make sure our cars keep us going through. So Trey, with the inauguration coming up, and I think Nico hit on that critical point that you can't go to sleep on this, and you have been to sleep as it is. You have to stay completely understanding that 70+ million people voted for this man.
Right.
And for me, I'm just simply not sure which white folk out there I can trust. And that is a sad reality, because we're now finding out that people that went were on those planes cutting up, taking private jets and going there. And real quick, when you come. So the guy gets caught, the lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel, gets busted, looking stupid with the handcuff, the plastic cuffs on him, and now he says he needs a public defender because he ain't got no money. I'm like, dude, how did you get to Washington, D.C.? How did you eat? Where did you sleep? And that you ain't got no money. You're a retired colonel, you got a pension, man. So what you talking about? Now you need the government and black folks' tax money to support your, I can't, CW is doing this. If I said the AWS, she would put a donkey's tail back there for me, won't you? So put a donkey's, because that's how I'm feeling. I want to say that word, but I ain't. So anyway, so Trey, what's up with this?
Well, first of all, I just feel like we're always too forgiving. We have too many margins, but not enough mountains. And then even with that, you don't want to have too many mountains. You want to have some Stoker Carmichaels. So I just think that if we're just too forgiving, I just feel like if we did half of what is done to us, you know, I just think the tide would change. But I just feel like just moving forward, you know, this should be a reality check, and you know, they should make us get on our P's and Q's. But the thing is like I said, 2 months from now, there'll be something else. We'll forget about it, and there'll be something else. You know, and it just seems like this is just a recurring thing. It's just been something we've been going through it for the last 400 years. You know, so the problem is systemic, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it has to start somewhere.
If I may interject, if I may.
Yes.
We both spoke about what we lack as people. And what we should do. But I really think in reality, all these ideologies should start out of grassroots. What are we teaching our children? What are the local community leaders? What are they doing to the children to develop their mindset? Yes, the history books at their school is not the same as what they can get from us. So do we have the real history books to teach them what is actually going on? I think at the grassroots, when we get in there and we start developing our children, we develop change. And through that, what I've found a lot in traveling in Africa is the sense of unity. You know, it's almost like they function at a utopian society. You know, it's kind of hand in hand. You know, I'm sitting down, I could just come out and say, you know what, I'm gonna sit down outside for a little bit and watch. And just watch. This one lady left, went across the street, and came back with salt. 30 minutes later, that lady ran over there, came back with oil. And at the end of the day, everybody got their meal. So they just know how to, and this lady's child was out playing, messing around, and that lady slapped that baby. And the mama came, didn't argue with that lady, and slapped the baby again, corrected the baby. Because it's just that utopian society and supporting one another.
And I think too, it's funny that you say that. You know, times have changed so much where, you know, ain't no big mama. You know, big mama 45 and she still going to the club. You know what I'm saying? So things have just changed. You know, even back in the 60s, you have all these grassroots organizations that started with the black churches. You know, you don't see that now. You know, people are scared to bring politics and everything into the church, which that's where it all started. I mean, look at Ebenezer, you know, Martin Luther King, and just all of these things that started within the church and a solid foundation. We don't have it now.
I think what we're going to have to do, we have to remember that they are still fighting the Civil War that they lost, and they have been indoctrinating their children and their children's children ever since then. As a matter of fact, they changed the history books of the Civil War to reflect that Negroes were happy, we were singing, we were dancing, we were cool. They reflected to make these guys heroes when they were actually traitors. And so we have to start doing the same thing. We have to, as we talked about last night, we have to begin to educate our children at a young age and indoctrinate them on politics, on involvement, on understanding how this situation works. And again, white America, we're not talking about all of y'all. You know who you are. That's right, it's only half of y'all.
If that.
If that. You know, so, but what we are saying is that we do know that there's white America, Hispanic America, we do work well together because we need each other in order to survive and have commerce, and have education, and have a nice life.
And I was telling someone that, can you imagine if the United States is #1 right now? We'll recognize #1. I'll travel all over the world, even though they're dollars, but wherever I walk in as an American, I give respect. Okay, I recognize that. But as bad as it is right now, if we were all to work together, I mean, we wouldn't have a conversation about China today, competing with us. You know, that's just my opinion. And I just think, you know, we should be able to work together and see how we can advance and change the people that we can change, and the ones that we can't, some people we can't change. We just don't have to get on.
Johnny, come on up back in here.
We're going to continue this conversation.
Go ahead, Trey.
Okay. Well, you know, like my brother said, you know, we just need to, you know, teach our young kids, our kids, our grandkids, you know, just the importance of where the foundation of being an African American comes from. You know, we need to let them know that you know, we have the power. And if, like I said, if we want to see the power, we have to initiate that, and that's the change. So I feel like that, you know, with all of these things that's going on right now, especially with us having the majority in the Senate and in the House, it's a great start.
Nico.
Well, for me, it's simple. It's a reality check. It's a heat check for most of us. And what are we going to do about it? We need to show our true measures and what we can do in a starless community.
You know, I am just honored and elated. You know, when Esther comes up with her harebrained, she said, we're going to do this. She said, we want to do it at this shop. I'm just grateful that I have individuals that I can touch on and make it happen. And so with that, I just want to say thank you again, Tommy Black, for opening up your establishment to us. And if you will go ahead and close us out, my brother, I sure appreciate it.
I want to just sum up what Trey and Nico started with. Trey said we have to teach our kids. Nico said, what do we do next? And I believe there is nothing better than old-fashioned actions have consequences. And in a situation like this, if we can confirm and elevate a justice to the Supreme Court, there is nothing that says that we cannot show this current president that there are consequences to the actions that he has put forth inciting these acts on the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah.
So with that, I would rest.
Impeach him. Impeach, that's all it is. And finally, you know, again, most of my conversations have been with people that say it's going to divide the country and it's not going to bring us together. I'm like, we're already divided. All right? So if you don't impeach him, if you don't give him any consequences, how is that going to bring anything together? He's just going to continue to do what he did. So we are just glad that the Esther Davis Show. Again, I'm Dr. Fred A. Jones with Decision 300. We'll see y'all soon. Check us out.
Good job. Enjoy it.
Doctor. How you doing?
Yeah. All right. Good job.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.